After reading what Tamaga's husband had to say about food stamps, I understand why Tia responded with, "Oh," when Tamara said she was called a... God, Tamera.
Tamera, baby, he can't be a good guy if he's racist. I know you've been trying to get us to believe he's a good guy, even though he worked for Fox News. I do want to say this, y'all. Everybody keeps saying how it's not a good lie, right? It's not a good lie. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm coming at Tamera. It was more so, blink if you need help, girl. But we were talking about how this is not a good lie. That's what I see people saying on Twitter. And I seen Kevin on stage joke. And it's funny, right? It's hilarious. However, have you ever talked to a child who you can tell has grown-ups feeding them certain facts and information? They're teaching them how to be. If you talk to my child right now, they are politically and socially aware when it comes to certain topics. They will tell you that they do not care for the big orange Cheeto, right? And the reason why they say these things is because that's what they hear when they're at home with the grown-ups. This is what the grown-ups that they are surrounded by, these are the conversations that they're hearing. My children will tell you very quickly, you don't judge someone because they're different. And they'll tell you that everyone prays to different gods. These are the conversations that me and my children have because I'm teaching them early to respect cultural, religious differences, different orientations, different races and cultures of people. That's what they're hearing at home with me because I need that to be a part of the foundation of who they are as a human so that when they grow up, they get smarter, wiser. That is a part of the foundation. I don't think it's crazy that he's saying that he noticed these things when he was a child because I'm sure that his parents were telling him these things. Do you think every time he was in the store he was by himself? No. His dad, his mom, whoever was with him saw those things and they had a conversation with him. And so it got to the point where he could identify it and he drew his own conclusions.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report. In today's video, we're diving into a hot topic that's got the internet buzzing. Adam Housley, former Fox News correspondent and husband of actress Tamera Mowry-Housley, facing major backlash over his comments about food stamps. Specifically, he supported Trump's push to restrict junk food purchases for people on government assistance. Now, while that debate alone is enough to spark conversation, what really set people off were Housley's personal stories about allegedly witnessing food stamp misuse as a kid. And let me tell you, the internet was not having it. Social media is flooded with reactions where people are calling him out for being out of touch, pushing a false narrative, and even being racist. Some are also dragging Tamera into the conversation, calling her Tamaga and questioning whether she agrees with him or if she's just silently standing by her husband. So what exactly did Adam say? Why is the backlash so intense? And is there truth to what he's claiming? If this is the kind of content you enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps YouTube show it to a wider audience. Otherwise, without further ado guys, let's go straight into this video. But first, let me play you a few clips on this matter and I'll come back with my commentary.
Tamera Buki, they said come get your husband because he lying about food stamps. Y'all, they on Twitter calling her Tamaga. So Tamera's husband, Adam Housley, has been on Twitter fighting for his life about food stamps. Now, just below, Unusual Whale had posted a story about how the Trump administration is pushing to stop individuals who get food stamps from buying junk food. And if you want the details about that whole restriction on food stamp benefits, watch the story right here. We posted about it yesterday. Now, Adam replies to that story and says, as a kid who grew up in a neighborhood grocery store since I was 5, I can't tell you how many times I saw people come in and buy crap food for their kids with food stamps, then open their wallet and use cash for liquor, beer, wine, and cigarettes. Then there were those who would repeatedly buy a lemon or lime, get the change, walk out the door, throw them away, and do it again until they had enough change to buy cigarettes or liquor. As a kid, it would pee me off because there are some people who could really use the help, and there are these others working the system. And of course, the internet did not take kindly to him talking about poor people problems. He continued his food stamp rant and said, what people need to understand is that there is an absolute need for assistance in this country, and we should absolutely provide it. And as part of that, help people get off of it with proper training and support. Unfortunately, the system has been corrupted. In California, it's badly corrupted. Then he was just going through his comment section, replying back to people. And you could pause to read this, but basically he said he had worked at the grocery store that his parents owned as a kid while he was playing professional baseball for 20 years, because people were arguing that food stamps never came in cash form. They came in cash form. And if you broke a $5, $10, or $1 bill in food stamps, you got cash back. Now, the people in the comments was like, Tamera's never beaten those allegations. And this is from that meme where she said somebody called her a white man's. And another person had noted, this is why Tia don't talk to Tamera now. I feel like there's some undertones to that too. Of course, you guys know we talked about that story. We broke that story like 2 years ago when Beyonce had sent Tia her Ivy Park collection, but she didn't send it to Tamera. And everybody was like, yo, why would Beyonce split the twins up? And that's really where everyone started talking about, do they even talk to each other anymore? They don't. Then Tia confirmed it on her reality show where she said she wished her and her sister had their old relationship back, but she didn't go into detail as to why they don't really talk to each other, connect with each other anymore. And a lot of people had said on the internet years before we had broke that story that it had something to do with Adam Housley, Tamera's husband. Another person had noted an article that had referenced Tia and Tamera. They had sat down for Our Lifestyle magazine, I think this was, and it said that Adam is a sixth generation from the Bay Area and was born and raised in wine country, growing up with a vineyard in his front yard. So Adam was basically talking about how he had worked himself to the bone as a child, and other people noted, no, you didn't. Your family grew up in Napa Valley, very wealthy. And shout out to the neighborhood publicist, because yeah, this is why people call her MAGA. This is why, because look what you married.
When my husband and I are so openly and we're fine with showing his love. Love. But people choose to look past the love and spew hate. They say called white man's whore. Like they say, OT is a true black woman because she married a black man. Oh, I'm lesser of a black person because I married white.
People in the black community do not feel differently about Tamera than they do about Tia, because Tamera is married to a Caucasian man. People feel differently about Tia than they do Tamera because Tamera's husband is a bigot. Today, the Trump administration is proposing that they are going to ban people who are on food stamps, SNAP benefits, from buying junk food. There's a proposal to ban people who receive this food assistance. It's going to prevent them from being able to buy chips, juice, snacks, whatever, under the guise of saying that taxpayers should be only paying into people buying healthy foods. The problem with this is that there are over 6,500 food deserts in the United States. If you don't know what a food desert is, it's basically a neighborhood or an area which has difficulty obtaining access to healthy foods affordably. And shout out to First Lady Michelle Obama. If you remember, during the Obama administration, the First Lady's initiative was heavily rooted in the health of America's children and alleviating communities from food deserts. But back to the matter at hand. Why do we have smoke for Tamera marrying a Caucasian man? When it was announced today that the Trump administration plans to ban certain things and restrict people who receive SNAP benefits from buying certain things, this is what Tamera's husband decided to post. As a kid who grew up in a neighborhood grocery store since I was 5, I can't tell you how many times I saw people come in and buy crap food for their kids with food stamps. He goes on to talk about how they would try to use the money that they got in change from their food stamps, because if you're from back in the day, you know the food stamps were paper. How they would try to buy something and then buy cigarettes, liquor, beer, etc. And then he goes on, Tamera Mowry's husband goes on to reveal that his family owned a neighborhood grocery store that is still in his family today, and he's basically saying that he saw these people use food stamps incorrectly. I did a little digging. Adam Housley's family owns Ranch Market in Yountville. Yountville is in Napa Valley, the Bay Area. Now, I just want to make one thing pristine before we go any further, because what we're not going to do is develop the false narrative of the welfare queen. In Napa County, where Tamera's husband's family owns a grocery store, where he is trying to say that people were using food stamps and SNAP benefits the wrong way, where Tamera Mowry's family husband's family owns that grocery store, where he's saying that people are using the foods and SNAP benefits incorrectly, that is predominantly a white Caucasian population. Only 1% of that population is African American. Why is this important? Again, the welfare queen narrative. Because how dare you and your family make money off the backs of poor people? Your family owning that grocery store in that neighborhood for all those years allowed you to go to Pepperdine University, where you met Tamera Mowry. Your family owns a grocery store in the Bay Area where there are 600 food deserts as of 2019, and I'm sure that number has grown. Your unreasonable attachment to this belief that poor people are thieves of SNAP benefits, instead of addressing the real problem of food deserts and people who are poor and use SNAP benefits getting access to healthy food, you decide to go online and ridicule that group of people because you're an elitist. So again, no one in the Black community is mad at Tia Mowry for being married to a Caucasian man. People feel a certain way and differently about Tamera than they do Tia because bigotry.
Tamera, get your husband. For real. Alright, so this is part 3 of If It Quacks Like a Duck, and this is Tamera Mowry's husband in response to Trump's administration potentially banning the use of food stamp benefits for junk food. And this is what he has to say. And it's so many things to dissect here. But first of all, at 5, you were noticing that people were buying junk food and alcohol and cigarettes with their cash. Like, shouldn't you been eating junk food too at 5? Like, why do you care so much? Second of all, people are so concerned with what others consume in their body that it drives me nuts. And he's supposed to be rich, so why do you care what other people are doing with their food stamp benefits to feed them and their families? And the crazy thing about it is these people always talk about individuals spending food stamps on junk food, but they never advocate for less food deserts or accessibility to nutritious and healthier food options, meaning that they are cheaper, because last time I checked, healthy food is expensive. So again, this falls in that category of If It Quacks Like a Duck, because this isn't the first time that he said some classist, racist stuff. And instead of just beating around the bush, just say that I'm a racist. I'm a racist. I don't like Black people. I don't like poor people. I don't care for them. Just say that. All of this extra wording, you don't have to do that, buddy. Just own your racistness, please. Oh, and another thing, if you care so much about people eating healthy food, how about you go to your local food pantry and donate some healthy food, and or you go buy some groceries for a family or two in need. Shut up.
Surprise, surprise. So I just read Tamera's husband's tweet, Adam Housley, regarding the whole rant about how he grew up in the neighborhood grocery store that his parents I guess owned, and how he would watch people come in and use their food stamps to buy junk and then use their cash to buy liquor, beer, cigarettes, wine, so on and so forth. And then he also stated that people would come in and buy a lime or a lemon here and there, and then they would throw the lemon away, and they would continue to do that until they had enough change to get their beer, liquor, cigarettes, whatever. Well, number one, duh, because you can't buy cigarettes, beer, wine, liquor with the food stamps. So they got to use their cash. And then 2, you were 5. Like, sir, you were 5. At 5, you wasn't so pissed. You wasn't so pissed that they were coming in there and they were using their food stamps to get junk. You probably was mad because you wanted those same snacks and your parents were like, no, our kids don't eat that. That's what you was mad at. You wasn't mad because these people, what? You wasn't worried about their food stamps. Like, get out of here. You're pissed now because you have grown up in a system where you have seen people, and don't get me wrong, there are people who abuse the system. Yes, absolutely. But the fact that you and people like you who have this mindset to feel like you can dictate how people use certain resources that they get. If I apply for food stamps and I qualify and I get them, how I choose to use it to get dinner for me and my family, that is my business. Like, I don't understand the mindset that you think, because I've been on food stamps before. And let me tell you something. I wasn't just out there buying snacks and junk. I was in there getting fruit. I was in there getting vegetables. I was in there getting meats and pastas and legumes and grains so that I could be able to make meals for my kids. But my kids also like snacks. And the fact that you think that people who get food stamps don't deserve to be able to provide for their kids something sweet or a treat for them to have is absolutely mind-boggling to me. You don't know what I bought last month. Last month, I could have bought all my meats and then had enough left over and then waited until this month I get the new fund of my food stamps, and then I take what I had left from last month, I take what I got this month, and then I go to the store and I get my snacks. Like, how do you determine like what someone can and cannot buy with food stamps? Like, it is crazy to me. And then for you to also think that the only people who qualify for food stamps are people who are lazy or don't work don't work for it is crazy. Like, even right now, like it's me and my 2 kids. They are 14 and about to be 13. And they eat. And let me tell you, even though I work, I still don't make enough to live comfortably. So every month it is a struggle. Like, we are making it through the grace of God, literally. And I'm thankful. But I wish I qualified for food stamps. Even with 2 kids, I don't qualify. The government says I make too much. So you know what? You don't get it. And like another creator said, you all are worried about what someone is doing with the food stamps instead of worrying about how to change the system so people don't have to rely on the government. If you would pay us a livable wage, if you would pay people livable wages, then they wouldn't have to rely on the government to assist them. And then that money that you're not using to assist someone, hey, now you can free it up. But no, instead of doing like right, you continue to blame the people at the bottom. That's what you do. You continue to blame the people at the bottom. Like, when I read his tweet, I don't even know what was the point. Like, that thought, you could have shared that with your wife. You could have kept that to yourself. Like, I don't understand. Like, what did you think you were going to gain by tweeting that? That is information that we did not need to know. And it never pans out the way that you think it is going to. And you probably going to be like, well, I don't care what people think. You do. Because if you didn't care, like, you wouldn't have put that out there. Like, you would have kept that to yourself. You want to know exactly what people think because you want people to rally right along with you. Like, it's crazy. Y'all constantly think the people on the bottom, the people on the bottom are the ones that are trying to cheat the system, when it's the ones at the top that are cheating the system the most. The people on the bottom are surviving. They are surviving. And the people in the middle, y'all on the fence. You're not quite on top to be on top. And you're not all the way at the bottom. But baby, you're one paycheck away. You one paycheck away from being at the bottom. You're definitely not one paycheck away from being at the top. And the people at the top gonna make sure of that. Like, America is a pyramid scheme. Like, what? It's crazy. It's like everybody at the bottom just working just to make the people at the tippy top rich. And y'all concerned about how people are spending their food stamp money. That's crazy to me. Because it's a lot of money that's getting spent around our government that y'all need to be questioning so much more than to be worried about how people are buying food. Y'all are wild out here.
So as you've seen from the reactions, black people especially are not happy. Adam Housley shared that as a kid, he noticed people using food stamps to buy junk food for their children while supposedly using cash for alcohol and cigarettes. He expressed frustration, saying it was unfair to those who genuinely needed assistance. Now, on the surface, that may seem like an innocent observation, but people are calling BS. One TikToker said, "Usually, 5-year-olds don't realize those types of things. Makes me think it was something he had." End of quote. And honestly, they have a point. Like, let's be real. When you were 5, were you paying attention to what people were buying at the grocery store? Or were you busy begging your parents for a toy or some candy? Other people called out the inconsistencies in his stories, saying he is lying because you don't get change back when you get groceries. But the biggest pushback is on the racial implications of his comments. A lot of people feel that he's reinforcing harmful stereotypes about food stamps users, when in reality, white Americans make up a significant portion of SNAP recipients. Now, while Adam is the one in the hot seat, Tamera is also catching strays. People are questioning whether she agrees with him and if she's choosing to stay silent on purpose. One person commented that she's less of a black person because she allows her white husband to spew racist rhetoric without checking him. Whew, that is heavy. And it doesn't stop there. Some even dragged her relationship history into it, saying that her whole identity is her husband and that he definitely settled for her, and that if they end up divorcing, she's going to crash out big time. And there are others who are also saying they understand why Tia and Tamera don't see eye to eye. Now, this is interesting because people have speculated for years that there's some tensions between the Mowry twins, and this situation is just adding fuel to that fire. Now, here's where things get really messy. Adam's own family benefited from food stamps. Yep, you heard that right. His family accepted food stamps as payment at their business. If that's true, then the hypocrisy is through the roof. It's wild to criticize a system that supposedly helped you and then turn around and shame others for using it. This debate has also reignited a conversation about who actually benefits from government assistance. There's a common stereotype that food stamps are mostly used by black and brown people, but statistics show that white Americans make up a large portion of SNAP recipients. And then there's the reality of food prices. Food stamps really ain't even enough to buy organic food, especially when most people on food stamps are trying to stretch their budget. That's a real issue. Healthy food is expensive, and sometimes people on assistance have to make tough choices just to get by. And so finally, we have to talk about the real issue here. A lot of people feel like the government is too focused on what low-income people do with their pennies, while billionaires and corporations get away with way worse. Amidst the backlash, some people are supporting this government initiative, saying if people had critical thinking, then they'd know if you take help from the government, you must expect rules. And if you don't receive food stamps, then you can buy whatever you want. It's an interesting debate. On the one hand, some argue that if the government is providing assistance, they have the right to put restrictions in place. On the other hand, why are we so quick to police poor people's spending habits while turning a blind eye to corporate greed and tax breaks for the ultra-rich? So after looking at all this, what do you think? Is Adam Housley completely out of touch, or does he have a valid point? Was he just sharing his personal experiences, or was he pushing a misleading narrative? And what about Tamera? Should she be held accountable for her husband's words, or is that unfair? I want to hear from you, so please drop your comments in the comments down below and let's keep the discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I have a playlist on MAGA voters regretting their votes, and if you like such kind of content, please click up here and watch. Also, remember to subscribe, like and share because it helps me grow my channel. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, the Joy Report out.